Okay, so have you ever like noticed how sometimes, our decisions can be a little bit off?
Yeah, totally.
Like I was reading this thing the other day about this jewelry store that had all this turquoise jewelry just sitting there.
Mhm.
Like they couldn't sell it. They tried everything, discounts, putting it in the window, like nothing.
Right.
And then accidentally the price got doubled
What?
and suddenly everyone wanted it. They were flying off the shelves.
Wow. That's wild.
And it really makes you think, right? And like what's going on there? Like these
Mhm.
weird little things that kind of I don't know, make us behave in these irrational
I
ways.
know, it's like there's these hidden forces that, are influencing us.
Totally. And so the learner, that's what we're going to be diving into today. All those subtle but super powerful ways that we get persuaded to say yes.
I love it.
We're going to be looking at the book, The Psychology of Persuasion. Have you read this
Yeah,
one?
yeah, it's a classic.
It's great, right?
So interesting, yeah.
So, what I thought was really cool about it was the author. He's a social psychologist, and what he did, he didn't just do like lab experiments. He actually went out into the world,
Oh, yeah, yeah. He observed
like observed all these people who are like the masters of persuasion.
right, the compliance
Yeah,
professionals.
like salespeople and
Clear
fundraisers.
rises, yeah.
Yeah, and he kind of saw how they use these techniques, and then combined that with the actual science behind it.
That's what makes it so compelling. Like, it's not just theoretical, it's like, real world, examples.
Yeah. And what's cool for you, the learner, is this isn't just some academic exercise. I mean, knowing this stuff, it can actually, it can be a real advantage in so many different areas of your life.
Totally.
Like from just everyday interactions with friends and family, to, if you're in marketing sales, really helps you kind of see behind the curtain, I guess.
So like a superpower, understanding persuasion.
It is. It is. And then you can make, more informed choices yourself, right?
Definitely. And I mean, who doesn't love those aha moments that the book is so full of?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what we're going for here. So we've gone through and kind of pulled out like all the juiciest bits, the most useful insights without, overwhelming you with too much
They
information.
want to keep it fun, but also insightful.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, exactly. So, where should we start? Let's dive into this idea of automatic influence.
Yeah, let's do it.
Like that click whir that the book talks about.
The automatic response.
Yeah. So to get started, let's think about animals for a second.
Okay.
Like a mother turkey, she's got this, powerful instinct to take care of her babies, right?
Right.
But it turns out that instinct is triggered by one very specific thing, the cheep cheep sound of her chicks.
Interesting. So it's like a specific sound.
It is. And get this, they did this experiment where they took a stuffed polecat.
A polecat.
Yeah. Like a weasel. They're not usually friends with turkeys.
Right. Yeah.
But they played this recording of the cheep cheep sound, and the mother turkey, she went right up to the polecat,
No way. Really.
started taking care of it, as if it were one of her chicks.
So it's like a completely pre-programmed response.
It is. And the key takeaway here, the learner, is that a lot of the time, we're not really thinking things through.
Right. We're operating on autopilot. Yeah.
Yeah, we're reacting to these triggers rather than actually processing all the information. And so that makes us really vulnerable, right? Even to these really seemingly unimportant triggers.
Yeah. It's like a vulnerability.
Yeah. So now you're probably wondering, what does this have to do with me?
Right. Very.
Well, the thing is, as humans, we have these automatic responses too.
Like we're not that different from that turkey.
Exactly. Certain cues, they trigger these automatic reactions in us. And just like with the turkey, that can be exploited,
It
unfortunately.
often is. Right.
Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
There's this study they did with a Xerox machine
Okay.
where they had people ask to cut in line.
Got it. Yeah.
And the first time they just said, "Excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine?"
So just a simple request.
Yeah. And only 60% of the people let them cut in line.
Okay. Not bad, but I guess not great.
Right. But then they added a reason. They said, "Excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine because I'm in a rush?"
Okay. So they gave a reason.
Yeah. And compliance jumps to 94% just by adding that one little word, because.
Wow. So the because made a huge difference.
It did. But here's the really interesting part. They tried a third request where they said, "Excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine because I have to make some copies?"
So basically a meaningless reason, right?
Totally. I mean, obviously they have to make copies if they're asking to use the Xerox machine,
Right.
but 93% of people said yes.
Wow. So it doesn't even matter if the reason is good.
It doesn't. It's like that because there's acted like that cheap tick sound for the turkey. It
Yeah.
triggered this automatic response to comply.
Like click were given
Yeah.
the machine.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
And this reminds me of that jewelry store example we started with.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe those vacationers, not being turquoise experts, they just went with the simple rule of thumb.
What is it? The expensive equals good.
Exactly. Yeah, they saw the higher price and it just clicked in their mind. Okay, this must be higher quality, more desirable.
And it worked.
Click were buy the jewelry.
Boom. So, it's a little unsettling to realize how much we do this. We rely on these shortcuts.
Yeah, but they're not always bad, right?
No. I mean, they're generally helpful, right? Like, we can't stop and analyze every little decision all day long.
We'd be paralyzed. Right.
Exactly. But the problem is that it makes us vulnerable.
Because people can exploit that.
Totally. And in fact, think about how much information we're bombarded with every day.
Right. It's overwhelming.
It is. And so it's almost like we're forced to rely on these shortcuts even more.
We have to simplify things.
Yeah. And, unfortunately, the people who are really good at persuasion, they figure this out.
Yeah. They know how to tap into those shortcuts.
Totally. And they use that to, get us to do what they want.
Yeah. It's pretty sneaky.
It is. And, it's not just limited to humans. There are some pretty crazy examples in nature, too.
Oh, I know what you're going to say. The fireflies.
Fireflies.
Right, the Photurus firefly.
So you've got the male Photinus firefly, and he's, flashing his little light, trying to attract a mate.
Doing his thing.
Right. And then along comes the female Photurus firefly, and she mimics his signals.
So she's like pretending.
Totally. And the poor male, his little courtship program gets triggered, and he flies right over.
Right into her trap.
And she eats him.
It's brutal.
I know, right? It's a perfect example of how those automatic responses, they can be exploited for not such good purposes.
For sure. It's like the dark side of automatic responses.
Totally. And there are all these examples. Like, have you ever heard of the cleaner fish?
Yeah. The little fish that clean the bigger fish.
Yeah, like the grouper.
Oh, right?
They have this little dance they do.
An undulating dance.
Yeah, that's it. And that signals to the grouper, hey, I'm here to clean you. Don't eat me.
Smart.
And the grouper, he just stays still, lets them clean his mouth and gills.
Mutually beneficial.
Totally. But then there's this other fish.
The blenny.
Yeah, the saber-toothed blenny. And guess what?
He mimics the dance.
He does. He does this little undulating dance. And the grouper thinks, oh, a cleaner fish.
But it's not.
It's not. And the blenny, he goes right in, takes a bite out of the grouper.
Oh, man. That's rough.
I know, right? But it's a perfect example of how even these, like, really specific triggers that are supposed to, help both parties,
They can be exploited.
they can be exploited. So, the takeaway here is that these automatic responses, they're everywhere. And we need to be aware of them because they can be used against us.
For sure. Awareness is key.
Totally. So let's move on to another principle that really stood out to me.
Okay, yeah.
This one's called the contrast principle, and it's all about how we perceive things depending on what came before.
So it's about context.
It is. It's like if we experience two things in a row, our judgment of the second thing is totally influenced by the first.
It's like a relative judgment, right?
Yeah. So let's say you're in a clothing store and you want to buy a suit.
Okay.
And the salesperson, they really want you to buy this sweater too.
Right.
But the sweater is, kind of expensive.
Yeah.
So what do? They show you the suit first.
The suit first.
Yeah. The suit's like $495, which is, a lot of money.
That's a pricey suit.
It is. But then they show you the sweater, and it's only $95.
Which seems like a deal.
Exactly. Because compared to the $495 suit, $95 doesn't seem so bad.
I see. So it's all about the order.
It is. It's like setting a high anchor.
And then the sweater seems less expensive.
Exactly. In fact, our source found that even if a guy goes to the store specifically to buy a suit, he's more likely to spend more on accessories if he buys them after the suit.
It's like the suit sets the bar high.
Totally. And they even quote some sales motivation analysts who say that's exactly why they do it.
Wow. So this is like a common tactic.
It is. And it's not just in clothing stores. Like, real estate agents use this all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Our source actually talks to this real estate agent named Phil.
Phil. Okay.
And Phil, he has this thing he calls setup properties.
Set up properties. What does that mean?
Okay, so he takes his clients to see these houses that are, like total dumps.
Really?
Yeah, like overpriced, need tons of work.
Why would he do that?
Well, he's not actually trying to sell them those houses, it's just to set them up.
To set them up.
Yeah. So then, when he shows them the actual house he wants to sell, which is, nice and in their price range.
It seems amazing.
It does. It's like they're so relieved to see a decent house after those dumps that they're ready to sign on the dotted line.
That's clever. A little manipulative, though. Right?
Oh, definitely. But it works.
So the contrast principle can be used in all sorts of ways.
Totally. Like even in how we communicate things. There's this example in the reader's report. Remember that part?
Yeah. Where the college student.
Yeah, she writes this letter to her parents.
And she starts off with this, really bad news,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, like the worst possible news.
Like she's in a car accident, and she broke her skull, and then there was a fire in the dorm, and
it's all just like super exaggerated.
right. And then it turns out she's fine.
Well, not fine, but like she only spent 2 weeks in the hospital.
Right, which seems like nothing compared to, a skull fracture.
Exactly. It's all relative. So think about it. The learner, have you ever fallen for this? Like maybe you were shopping and you saw this really expensive item.
And then the smaller, less expensive one seems like a bargain.
Yeah. It's the contrast principle at work.
It's everywhere.
It is. So let's move on to the next principle, which is the rule of reciprocation.
Okay, yeah.
And this one's really fascinating because it's like so deeply rooted in human nature.
We're obligated to give back
Right.
when someone does something nice for us.
Exactly. It's like we feel this need to repay favors even if we didn't ask for them in the first place.
It's like a social norm, right?
Totally. And they did this study, the Regan study, where they had this assistant named Joe.
Joe, okay.
And Joe would go around and give some of the participants a Coke.
Right.
And others, he wouldn't give anything.
Right.
And then later, he tried to sell them raffle tickets.
Raffle tickets.
Yeah. And guess what? The people who had gotten the Coke from Joe, they bought twice as many raffle tickets.
Really?
Yeah.
Just because of a Coke.
It's crazy, right? And what's even more interesting is that it didn't even matter if they liked Joe or not.
So it wasn't just that they liked him more.
No, it was like this obligation to return the favor.
Interesting. So even a small gift can have a big impact.
It can. And it's not just about repaying favors, it's also about receiving them.
Receiving them.
Yeah, like we feel obligated to accept gifts even if we don't want them.
Oh, right. It feels rude to refuse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem comes in, because then we feel indebted to the person who gave us the gift.
Even if we didn't ask for it.
Exactly. And it's not always for good purposes.
Right. People can take advantage of that.
Yeah. So they talk about this example in the book, the Hare Krishna Society. Remember back in the 70s how they were everywhere?
Yeah. They
In the airports.
The airports, yeah.
And they were always giving people these little flowers or sometimes little books.
Yeah.
And then they would ask for donations.
And people would give them money.
Yeah. Because they felt obligated.
Even though they didn't ask for the flower or the book.
Exactly. And, think about politics, too.
Oh, yeah.
They call it log rolling, where politicians will vote for something they don't really support.
Right.
Because they owe a favor to another politician.
It's like trading favors.
Yeah. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. So this rule of reciprocation, it's a powerful thing.
Definitely.
And it can be used in all sorts of ways, both good and bad.
So how do we protect ourselves from being manipulated?
That's a good question. And they have a couple of suggestions. Like, one thing is to be aware of this technique they call rejection then retreat.
Rejection then retreat. What's that?
Okay, so it's like the person starts by making a big request, something they know you're going to say no to.
Okay.
Like, imagine a Boy Scout comes up to you and asks if you want to buy a $5 ticket to the Jamboree.
Right. I'd probably say no.
You probably would.
Yeah.
But then he immediately says, okay, well, how about just buying a $1 candy bar?
Oh, I see.
Suddenly, that candy bar doesn't seem so bad.
Right.
Especially because it feels like he's made a concession. Right?
He came down from his initial request.
Yeah. And so we feel this pressure to reciprocate.
By buying the candy bar.
Exactly. And, they even talk about the Watergate break-in, how it might have been approved because of this technique.
Really?
Yeah. So remember G. Gordon Liddy?
Oh, yeah.
He goes to the committee with this plan for the break-in, but it's like this crazy elaborate thing that costs $1 million.
$1 million.
Yeah. And they're like, no way.
Obviously.
So then he comes back with the scaled-down version. Still crazy, but only $500,000.
Okay, so still a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. And they say no again.
So what does he do?
He presents this bare bones plan, only $250,000.
Okay.
And they approve it. And Jeb Magruder, he even says later that they all felt like they should give Liddy a little something after he came down so much from those initial huge figures.
Wow. So they got manipulated by the rejection then retreat.
Exactly.
And it makes sense. Like if someone makes a concession, we feel like we should make one too.
Totally. And the other thing is we tend to be more satisfied with the outcome when we feel like we've negotiated a better deal.
So
We're happy with our $1 candy bar.
Exactly. Even though we wouldn't have bought it in the first place if the Boy Scout hadn't first tried to sell us that $5 ticket.
Right. It's pretty sneaky.
It is. So how do we protect ourselves from this?
Yeah. How do we resist that urge to reciprocate?
Well, I think the key is awareness. Like if we recognize that someone is using this technique on us, we can mentally reframe it.
So we see it for what it is, a manipulation.
Exactly. And then it's easier to say no.
Like that free gift you get in the mail before they ask for a donation.
Yeah. Or the free trial that turns into a paid subscription.
Right. If we recognize it as a tactic, we're less likely to fall for it.
Totally. So let's move on to another principle, which is commitment and consistency.
Oh, yeah. This one's really interesting. It is. It's all about how much we want to appear consistent in our actions and beliefs.
Like once we take a stand, we want to stick to it.
Exactly. We don't like to feel like hypocrites.
Right.
So there's this really powerful example they gave in the book, the Korean War POW camps.
Oh, yeah.
The Chinese communists, they had this thing they called a lenient policy.
Lenient.
Yeah, but it was actually super sneaky.
Oh, I see.
So they would start by asking the American prisoners to do these small, like really trivial things.
Like what kind of things?
Like write a little essay about, something they didn't like about America.
Okay.
Or just make a little criticism of the U.S. government.
Right. Seemingly harmless stuff.
Totally. And because there was no, punishment for not doing it, a lot of the prisoners, they complied.
They figured, why not?
Right. But then the Chinese would take those statements and they would publicize them.
Like they would share them.
Yeah. They would put them up in the camp, broadcast them to other prisoners, even broadcast them to the American forces.
Wow.
And suddenly that prisoner was labeled a collaborator.
Oh, I see.
And to be consistent with that label, they would start to do bigger and bigger things.
So it escalated.
Yeah. And they even started to believe some of the things they were saying and doing.
Wow. So just by getting them to make these small commitments,
they were able to change their whole worldview.
that's incredible and scary.
It is. And it's because, they didn't feel coerced into making those initial commitments.
Right. They felt like they were doing it of their own free will.
Exactly. And then they felt a need to be consistent with those actions.
Interesting.
And there's another study that really highlights this, the Friedman and Fraser study. They wanted to get people to put up these big, ugly signs in their yard.
Like what kind of signs?
Like drive carefully signs.
Yeah.
But they knew most people wouldn't want to do that.
Right.
So a couple of weeks earlier, they went door to door asking people to sign a petition in support of keeping California beautiful.
A small request.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people signed it.
Okay.
And then later, when they asked those same people to put up the drive carefully signs, they were way more likely to say yes.
Really? Just because they signed the petition?
Yeah, because they had already made this small commitment to being, civic-minded.
I see. So it's about consistency.
Exactly. And there was another study, the Deutsch and Gerard line length experiment.
Line length experiment.
Yeah, where they asked students to estimate the length of some lines.
Okay.
And they found that the students who wrote down their answers and signed their name, they were way less likely to change their minds later.
Really? Even if they were wrong?
Yeah. It's like that act of writing it down and signing your name, it makes the commitment more real.
Interesting. So public commitments are more powerful.
Totally.
Yeah.
And there's even this example in the book about a guy who quit smoking.
Okay.
And he did it by making a list of all the people he didn't want to disappoint.
A public declaration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that kept him accountable.
So commitment is all about making it public and making it real.
Yeah. And also the effort we put into something.
Effort.
Yeah, like the more effort we put into achieving something, the more we value it.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right. Like think about fraternities and sororities, how they have those crazy initiation rituals.
Oh, right. The hazing.
Yeah. And it sounds terrible, but it actually works.
Makes them more committed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they went through all that, they're more likely to stick with it.
Wow.
And they did this experiment, the Aronson and Mills electric shock study, where they had college women go through these embarrassing initiations.
Electric shock.
No, not actual electroshocks, but like they had to read embarrassing passages out loud.
Okay.
And the women who went through the most embarrassing initiation, they were the ones who ended up liking the group the most.
So the more they suffered, the more they liked it.
Yeah, because they had to justify the effort they put in.
Interesting.
And the key here is inner responsibility.
Inner responsibility.
Yeah, like if we feel like we're doing something because we want to, not because we're being forced to.
We're more likely to stick with it.
Exactly. They did this study, the Friedman robot toy study, where they told kids not to play with a certain toy.
Okay.
And some kids, they gave them a mild threat, and others, they gave them a severe threat.
Oh.
And the kids who got the mild threat, they didn't play with the toy even when the researcher left the room.
They internalized the rule.
Exactly. But the kids who got the severe threat, they only avoided the toy when the researcher was watching.
So it's about external pressure, not internal motivation.
Yeah. And they say this has implications for how we raise children. Like if we want them to do something, it's better to give them a good reason rather than just threatening them.
To foster that inner responsibility.
Exactly. Now let's talk about a sneaky tactic that plays on this commitment and consistency principle. It's called the lowball tactic.
Lowball, okay.
And this is where, like, someone offers you a really great deal, gets you all excited about it,
Yeah.
and then once you've committed, they take away the advantage.
Oh, that's not cool.
No, it's not. But it works surprisingly well.
So how does it work?
Like, imagine you're buying a car,
Okay.
and the salesperson, they give you this incredibly low price.
A great deal.
Yeah, and you're like, sold? I'll take it.
Right.
But then when you're about to sign the papers, they come back and say, oh, actually, there was a mistake. The price is higher.
Or the interest rate is higher.
Yeah. Or they give you less for your trade-in.
Right.
But a lot of the time, people still end up buying the car
Really? Why?
because they've already committed to it in their minds.
They've already pictured themselves driving that car.
Yeah. And they've probably told their friends and family about it.
Right. So they don't want to back out now.
Exactly. And they start coming up with new reasons to justify the purchase.
It's like the initial commitment creates its own momentum.
Yeah. And there's a similar tactic, the bait and switch.
Bait and switch.
Yeah, where they get you interested in one thing and then they try to switch you to something else.
Like they lure you in with something appealing.
They try to sell you something completely different.
Sneaky.
So how do we resist these pressures to be consistent?
Yeah, good question. It can be tough.
It can, but one thing they suggest is listening to that gut feeling.
That feeling that something's not quite right.
Yeah. Like if it feels too good to be true, it probably is.
Right.
And the other thing is to ask yourself, if I knew then what I know now, would I still make the same decision?
So to step back and reevaluate.
Exactly. Like in that example with the magazine subscription.
Oh, yeah.
The guy, he gets tricked into this kiss.
Right. It wasn't a consensual kiss.
And then he feels pressured to buy a magazine subscription.
To be consistent with that initial interaction.
Yeah. But
Right.
if he had stopped and thought about it, he probably wouldn't have done it.
Right. He was caught up in the moment.
Okay, so let's move on to another principle, social proof.
Ah, yeah. The power of the crowd.
Exactly. This is the idea that we tend to look to others to figure out how to behave.
Especially when we're uncertain.
Yeah, like if we don't know what to do, we just do what everyone else is doing.
Right. Like if everyone's running towards the exit, we probably should too.
Yeah. And this is something that advertisers use all the time.
Fastest growing or best selling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They want us to. Okay, so have you ever like noticed how sometimes, our decisions can be a little bit off?
Yeah, totally.
Like I was reading this thing the other day about this jewelry store that had all this turquoise jewelry just sitting there.
Mhm.
Like they couldn't sell it. They tried everything, discounts, putting it in the window, like nothing.
Right.
And then accidentally the price got doubled
What?
and suddenly everyone wanted it. They were flying off the shelves.
Wow. That's wild.
And it really makes you think, right? And like what's going on there? Like these
Mhm.
weird little things that kind of, I don't know, make us behave in these irrational ways.
I know. It's like there's these hidden forces that are influencing us.
Totally. And so The learner, that's what we're going to be diving into today. All those subtle but super powerful ways that that we get persuaded to say yes.
I love it.
We're going to be looking at the book, The Psychology of Persuasion. Have you read this
Yeah,
book?
yeah, it's a classic.
It's great, right?
So interesting. Yeah.
So, what I thought was really cool about it was the author. He's a social psychologist, and what he did, he didn't just do like lab experiments. He actually went out into the world,
Oh, yeah, yeah. He observed,
like observed all these people who are like the masters of persuasion.
right, the compliance professionals.
Yeah, like salespeople and
Clear
fundraisers.
crisis, yeah.
Yeah, and he kind of saw how they use these techniques, and then combined that with the actual science behind it.
That's what makes it so compelling. Like, it's not just theoretical. It's like, real world, examples.
Yeah. And what's cool for you, the learner, is this isn't just some academic exercise. I mean, knowing this stuff, it can actually, it can be a real advantage in so many different areas